Hi, this is artist Tara Reed, and I want to talk to you about flower bags. Trader Joe's, one of my favorite stores, no, they're not sponsoring this video or blog post, has come out with these reusable flower bags that I think are a fantastic idea. But then I started thinking, and I thought, I can make this even better if I add my own fabric to the outside. So, which bouquet is more interesting? This one or this one? This one features some of the heart fabric from my Gnomes in Love fabric collection, but you can use any fabric you want, customize it to the holiday, the occasion, the person you're giving it to, or just keep them in your car, and when you feel like treating yourself to flowers, have something really pretty to carry them home in. So I'm going to show you just how easy this is to do, and if you don't have a Trader Joe's around you and can't get these flower bags to use as the base, don't worry, I'm going to show you how to make your own for that as well. First, let's go over the materials we need. I'm using this Trader Joe's reusable flower bag as the base for my fabric flower bag. But on my blog at tarareed.com, I will have directions for how to make this project with plastic or oilcloth inside if you don't have or don't want to get these. But they're only 99 cents and it makes it very cost effective and easy to make. So that is my inspiration and my base. And this is not a sponsored post. I just love Trader Joe's. Then I have a fat quarter. This is a heart toss from my Gnomes in Love fabric from Riley Blake Designs. Then we have two pieces that are 1.5 inches wide that we're going to make bias tape. 22 inches long, so the length of a fat quarter. And then 5 inches long to make this loop if you want to have a hang loop on your finished product, but that's totally optional. Bias tape maker, you can use that, or I'll show you how to do it without it. Fabric clips, I recommend them versus pins because you don't want to put a bunch of holes in a plastic coated or plastic fabric. So the less pins and the less puncture marks, the better to keep the water from your flowers inside the bag. Rotary mat, rotary cutter, and then a seam ripper to get the hook off of there. And this is a new one from Riley Blake Designs. It's called Cindy's Seam Ripper, and I just love it. It just sits right on your finger like that. Really easy to use, ergonomically good for your hands. So I'll show you how that works as well. And then a ruler. So let's get started. Let's make the seam binding for the edge and also a small one for the optional hang tag. So I'm going to show you how to use the bias tape maker for the longer piece, and then I'll show you the alternate way if you don't have or don't want to get these. So I use the number 18, which is that red size. Kit also came with this awl, which is, I like to call the pointy thing, technical terms. So you're going to guide the fabric through here and out the other side. So I like to do it this way. I think I might hold this tool upside down, but I don't know. This is how I like to do it. So I just put the awl in there to get it to come out the other side. And you'll see what that's doing is you're pulling it and it's taking the fabric and it's folding it evenly into the center. See that? As you move it. So then you're just going to run the iron as you just slowly pull this back as you iron that. So it is really easy, especially if you're doing projects, excuse the steam, where you need long pieces of bias tape. I highly recommend investing in these little tools. I use them for a lot of different things. All right, so you're going to do the whole length, and then, when it cools off, you're going to fold it in half and press again. And this is what we are going to put the long edge, raw edges into this and sew it on there so that we're not having to iron onto the flower bag at all, because you really don't want to put a lot of heat and certainly not steam on plastic coated fabrics. Okay, so see how quick and easy it was to do that really long piece with that tool. But say you don't have the tool, you just want to get this done. You can just take your fabric, fold it in half, and press. Then you're going to open that back up. Ooh, hot. And you're going to fold in. Can you see where that pressed fold is? You're going to fold each side so that the raw edge goes to the fold like that. So you're basically doing what that tool did in two steps, because it basically made these two outside folds as it pulled through the tool, but we can do it without it. Now you're going to then fold it in half again. That's the original press, and then just press that again. And if you want a more finished edge on this, so you don't have any fraying later in use on this hang tag, you can open it all the way, fold it down about 1/4 inch on each end. Don't press further down because you don't want to unpress those folds that we just made, except on the very end. So you're going to do that on both ends. Then you're going to fold it back up. But this time there's going to be no raw edges anywhere. So that's going to be ready to sew onto, well, almost ready to sew onto the bag as the hang loop. 2 ways to do it. Both work equally well. Just depends on whether you have this tool or want to get this tool because you think you'll use it for other things. Okay, I'm going to prepare the Trader Joe's flower bag. If you're not using it, you can just look at the diagram on my blog. The link will be below this video if you're not on my blog post now, to see what size to cut your plastic or oilcloth fabric. So first, obviously, I'm going to take the tag off. Then I'm going to just cut their bias tape off there, just right along that. So I'm going to cut that off and discard that. Sometimes it's still a little bit stuck, but if you just gently open that up, you might need to use scissors at the very tip, as I am, to get it to lay flat without ripping. Okay. So now it'll lay flat, but we don't want this bulk up here or this boring tag. So I'm just going to take the seam ripper and take that out, because it is stitched on with different stitching than around the thing. And then you can see how easy it is to use Cindy's seam ripper. I love it. And I love that it matches my fabric. Added bonus. See how you can still use your hand? You don't have to take it, put it down, pick it up, put it down, pick it up. Just keep it on your finger, move around. Okay, so we have that off. We now have our flat bag. So now I'm going to take my fat quarter. What I love about using fat quarters for this is it makes it really easy. Like, you could just go buy maybe 6 fat quarters that coordinate, cover 5 of these and have them for gifts, etc. You'll use 5 of them, 5 of the fat quarters for the bags, and then 1 to do all of the seam binding. So make sure you get them that coordinate. So what you're going to do is fabric wrong side up, and then you're going to put the flower bag down. And I usually fold it back so it lays a little bit flatter while we're working on this. And you're going to line up this edge with the edge of the fabric. Then you're going to take your rotary cutter and you're going to cut even with this edge. And now I'm going to cut 1 inch away from the edge on both of these sides. because we're going to make our fabric overlap the top edge of the flower bag. Okay, so now we have the main fabric cut. These edges are the same. That has an inch above. Now what you're going to do is you're going to go to the ironing board and you're going to iron that a ½ inch down and then a ½ inch again, because that will hide your raw edge, and then we're going to stitch it onto this reusable flower bag. Now we're going to take our flower bag so that we can tuck the flower bag under what we just did. And then we're going to use clips and not pins so that we're not pinning into this plastic coated fabric. So I'm just going to clip this all the way around. So now I'm going to do just a stitch down the fold line to keep the fabric and the interior together. That's totally optional, but for some reason, I always feel compelled to do that. All right, so now we have the fabric stitched to the interior that I used from the Trader Joe's flower bag. If you don't have that, don't want to use that, I will give you the dimensions on my blog for the fabric to use your own interior fabric as well. So before I attach this little hang loop, I just want to sew the folded edges together so that it isn't going to buckle open. So I'm just going to run a quick stitch down that edge. Now, before we finalize our flower bag, before we fold it and put the other bias tape on, we're going to attach the optional hang loop. So it's going to go at the point at the top. So you're just going to take the folded bottom edges, put them next to each other, flattened out. And remember, you don't want to put a lot of pinholes in this, so I just clip the one side, hold the other side, put the foot down, and if you need to, use a stiletto or the tip of your scissors to hold that in place. And now we're just going to stitch back and forth to attach that. All right, so now when we have it all together, we have a loop to hang it up if we want to hang it up for storage. Even though we cut this so everything was lined up, it did shift a teeny bit. So what you're going to do is you're just going to fold this in half, line up these edges, and then you're just going to trim a little bit along the raw edge side so that it comes to a point. You'll see like that. If I turn it over, you can see it more. You can see it's not quite perfectly lined up raw edges, so we're going to fix that. Our flowers will never know. Okay, so I'm just going to trim that. Now our edges are lined up well, and now, get that ruler out of the way, we just need to clip and then sew the bias tape along this long edge. So I have pressed under this side, grab my clips. So you're just going to clip this all the way along and then fold that to encase that. So basically we are getting all of our raw edges encased in this bias tape. And make sure it all stays lined up. I kind of like to open the bias tape and lay the edges onto it and then fold it over. You just want to make sure on the back that that's all lining up properly. So now when you get towards the bottom, Your bias tape is going to be longer, so you're going to just fold it up a little beyond the tip. You can press it or you can just clip it. I do have it go a little bit beyond the tip because I feel like that makes it less likely for the tip of the main fabric to come out and fray. It gives kind of a fun look. All right, so that's all clipped up, and now all you need to do is go back to your sewing machine and sew right along that edge, and you're done. It is as easy as that. And once you do one or two, you can just whip these out. All right, so now I'm just going to sew this final bias tape on, and my beautifully improved flower bag is going to be all done. And there you have it.